All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time, we're looking at, dissecting might be a better word, the Champions League match. Manchester City versus Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I mean, 3-2, Real Madrid. Exciting on the face of it.
Right.
But the sources you sent me suggest there's a lot more going on here.
Definitely. I mean, it wasn't just the scoreline. It's the way that Real Madrid won, coming from behind twice. And, reading through these articles, you really get the sense that Real just doesn't believe they can lose. While City, they seem to be having some of those same late game issues, that have plagued them all season long.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, we're watching two teams heading in opposite directions.
Yeah.
You've got Real Madrid marching towards another Champions League title.
Right.
And then City, I mean, this team, they built a dynasty, but are we starting to see cracks in the foundation? And, I mean, to make things worse, City fans, they have this giant banner.
Oh, yeah.
Rodri kissing the Ballon d'Or, crying your heart out. Kind of backfired, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of ironic that Rodri wasn't even playing because of injury.
Right.
And reading these reports, you can tell his absence. Well, it was definitely felt.
So are we saying this banner jinxed them?
Well, I probably wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But City has now lost five times from a winning position this season. And get this, they've conceded 8 goals in the last 16 minutes of their last 5 Champions League games.
Oh, wow. Okay. Those are some pretty scary stats for City fans. I mean, I can only imagine as a fan what a roller coaster of emotions that must be. You're up, you think you have the game, and then suddenly it all slips away.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yeah, and it points to a problem that's much bigger than any one player.
Right.
But when you look at the specifics of, Rodri not being there, it exposes a real gap in that midfield. He's that anchor.
Yeah.
He shields that defense. He really sets the tempo for the team.
So you're saying it's more than just missing a key player.
Yeah.
It's like losing a crucial part of how they play, how they control the game.
Exactly. I mean, take this match, for example. One article really highlighted how Real Madrid was just constantly breaking through that City midfield in the latter stages of the game. They were able to exploit the space that Rodri usually takes up and create, a ton of dangerous chances,
And then on the other side, you have this Real Madrid team. They never give up. It's like they get stronger when things get tougher.
Yeah.
Twice they were trailing.
Yeah.
And they just kept coming, kept believing.
Yeah, you see that time and time again with Real Madrid, especially in the Champions League. It's more than tactics. It's a mentality. They've built this culture where every single player, it doesn't matter who they are or when they come on, they expect to win.
Right.
They don't panic. They don't get rattled. They just keep pushing.
Okay, so we have got City kind of falling apart in those final minutes.
Yeah.
And you've got this Real Madrid team almost fueled by their own confidence, even when they're losing.
Right.
Fascinating contrast. But how did this actually, how did it play out on the pitch? What were those tactical differences that we saw?
Well, one thing that really jumps out from these reports is the difference in energy.
Okay.
Real Madrid played with this hunger and this intensity, especially in the second half, that City just couldn't match.
And that's interesting, right? Because, on paper at least, City has the younger squad.
Yeah.
But some of their key players, I mean, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva,
right.
They look tired. I don't know, less impactful than we're used to seeing. I mean, these are usually the engines that really drive that City attack.
Yeah.
They seem, I don't know, maybe a step slower.
It makes you wonder, are we seeing the beginning of the end for this generation of City players? I mean, they've been at the top for so long. Could fatigue, physical, mental, could that be setting in?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question hanging over City right now. Are they still the dominant force they once were? Or are we watching them start to fade away?
Yeah. And it's a question that Guardiola, their manager, it seems like he's wrestling with it too.
Yeah.
You could see it on his face during the match, the frustration.
Oh, yeah.
He looked like a man searching for answers, trying to figure out how to stop the bleeding and get this team back on track.
Yeah. His post-match comments, they were very telling.
Right.
He said, and I quote, "I take it, it's not about you and me or just the team, it's everyone." There's this sense of accountability there.
Right.
But I also hear maybe a hint of desperation.
It's almost like he's admitting that he doesn't have all the answers. That even he, one of the greatest tactical minds in football, well, he's struggling to solve this puzzle.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've got Real Madrid riding high, confidence and momentum, seemingly defying all logic with those late-game heroics. And then you have City, grappling with their own doubts. They're struggling to stay composed.
Right.
And they've got a manager who, I mean, maybe for the first time ever, seems to be questioning his own abilities. It's a clash of narratives as much as it is a clash of styles. And it sets us up perfectly for what's to come in that second leg.
Oh, yeah. That second leg at the Bernabeu, I mean, that's going to be electric.
Oh, yeah.
Can City turn this around?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to need something, I don't know, Herculean to overcome this deficit.
Yeah.
Especially at a place like the Bernabeu.
Oh, it's a fortress. Real Madrid, they thrive on that energy, that home crowd.
Yeah.
And they just have this history of making life miserable for any team that goes in there.
Well, and it's interesting because, the sources you sent, it seems like Real Madrid has a very specific approach at home in the Champions League.
Yeah, they press high, they force you into making mistakes, and then they just punish you on the counterattack.
I mean, they do it with this intensity and precision that's really tough to handle. I mean, City looked rattled, especially in that second half.
So, I mean, if City wants to have any chance of coming back, they're going to have to withstand that initial, onslaught.
Right.
Weather the storm, don't make mistakes.
Absolutely. They need to be disciplined defensively, composed when they have the ball, and, well, clinical in front of the goal. It's a tall order.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible.
It feels like, they'll need to tap into that mentality, that Real Madrid spirit we were talking about.
Yeah.
Just never giving up. But how do you even do that? Can you just flip a switch and suddenly, become this team that believes they can overcome anything?
It's not that simple. But, looking back at some of these articles about Real Madrid's success in the Champions League, one thing kind of keeps coming up.
Okay, what's that? Experience? A lot of these Real Madrid players, they've been here before. They've won multiple Champions League titles. They know what it takes to win, even when it seems like, everything is against them. They have this collective memory of success that they can draw on in these moments.
So it's not just about talent or tactics.
Right.
It's almost like, I don't know, having that lived experience of overcoming adversity.
Exactly. And it's something that City, even with all their recent dominance, they just don't have it in the same way. This is still a relatively new team. A team that's built its success, on individual brilliance and tactical innovation. But when things go wrong, and the pressure is on, do they have that same mental toughness that Real Madrid has?
That's the big question going into this second leg.
Yeah.
Can City dig deep? Can they defy the odds and pull off a historic comeback? Or is this Real Madrid experience, this era of invincibility, is that going to be too much for them?
I think what's really fascinating about this matchup is that it's not just a test for City.
Okay.
It's a test for Real Madrid, too.
How so?
Well, they're the ones with the target on their back.
Right.
They're the ones with the legacy, the ones everyone expects to win. Can they handle that pressure? Can they deliver when it matters most?
So it's almost like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Real Madrid's history, it's both their greatest strength and their, maybe their biggest burden.
Exactly. And it's what makes the second leg so compelling. We're not just watching a football match.
Right.
This is a clash of philosophies.
Yeah.
A battle between two completely different ways of approaching the game.
You've got City. They've built their success on meticulous planning,
right,
tactical flexibility, and, having some of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And then you have Real Madrid. This team thrives on chaos, on this belief that they can overcome anything through sheer willpower.
Experience. And it's that intangible thing, that mental edge that could really decide this whole tie.
I got to ask, based on everything we've talked about, what really stands out to you?
For me, the biggest thing is belief. Real Madrid's success, especially in the Champions League, it's not just about tactics or talent. It's about this deep-seated belief in their own ability, this conviction that they can overcome any challenge.
It's almost like they've tapped into some kind of, collective consciousness.
Yeah.
A belief system that goes beyond just the players, the manager.
And it's something that City is going to need to find if they want to turn this around.
Yeah.
They need to believe in themselves, believe that they can overcome the odds, achieve the impossible.
It's not just about playing well. It's about truly believing you can win.
Right.
But, I mean, how do you even cultivate that? I mean, is that something that you can, teach, coach?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I don't think there's a simple answer. Some teams, it seems like they're just born with it. Others, they struggle to find it even after they've been successful. But one thing is clear. Belief. I mean, that intangible element, that mental fortitude, it can be a powerful force.
Yeah.
And
in this case, it could be what decides this clash between these two massive clubs. Makes you wonder, can you actually build a team around this whole idea of belief?
Yeah.
Can you look for it when you're scouting players? Can you train for it? Can you build a system that creates that kind of confidence?
That's a really interesting thought. I mean, it's definitely not as straightforward as saying, okay, we need to improve this player's passing or, their tackling.
Right. It's not like you can just measure belief, pull it up on a stat sheet.
Exactly.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe there are ways to encourage it. Maybe it starts with the manager. Sets the tone. Creates that winning mentality from the top down. Builds a culture where every player, I don't know, feels like they can contribute.
Yeah, maybe it's about creating an environment where players are, encouraged to take risks, to really express themselves on the pitch without being afraid to fail. A place where, mistakes aren't seen as the end of the world, but as opportunities to learn and grow.
And maybe it's about having those, those veteran players around, guys who've been there, done that,
right,
won trophies. They can, lead by example and show those younger players what it really takes to win at the highest level.
It's fascinating to think about. It's like we're almost talking about alchemy here, trying to find the magic formula to create this team that's not only technically gifted, but also just mentally unshakable.
And isn't that what makes sports so interesting? It's not just about physical ability. It's about the mental side of things.
Oh, absolutely.
The psychological battles that are happening both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, and in this case, I mean, the mental game, that might be even more important than the physical one, because when these two teams meet again at the Bernabeu, it's going to be as much a battle of wills as it is a battle of, skill and tactics.
We've talked a lot about Real Madrid's belief.
Right.
But what about City? I mean, this is a team that's used to winning, a team that's been built to dominate.
Yeah.
Can they rediscover that, I don't know, that inner steel, that killer instinct before it's too late?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's one that only they can answer. I mean, they have the talent, the resources, the tactical, know how to mount a comeback. But the question is, do they have the belief? Do they have the mental strength to overcome, everything that's happened and really rise to the occasion?
I guess we'll find out soon enough. That second leg, oh man, it's going to be must-watch football. A match that could decide, well, not just the fate of these two teams, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the future of European football.
Yeah.
Will Real Madrid continue to reign supreme, or will City find a way to, dethrone the Kings?
I mean, this whole deep dive, it's really been eye-opening. We've gone way beyond just, the basic stuff and really trying to understand what drives success in football.
Absolutely. And for me, the biggest takeaway is that belief, I mean, it really is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can, take a team to incredible heights, but it can also be really fragile, easily shattered by doubt, by fear.
It's a good reminder that in sports, just like in life, the mental side of things is just as important as the physical side. And sometimes I think, winning or losing, it all comes down to who believes in themselves more.
So to our listener out there, I mean, keep an eye on that second leg. It's not just a football match, right? It's a battle for the soul of the game. And hey, who knows, maybe you'll even learn a thing or two about the power of belief along the way.